All right, we are online, I think. Hey, Comics Legend, how you doing? How's everyone going? Can you hear me all right? We're about to get started. We'll be attending to the Light Expo online event. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be presenting anything, but yeah, I'll definitely try to attend. I'm not entirely sure what's happening, to be honest, with that. I haven't read much about it. I know some friends that are going, but yeah, I haven't actually read much about it. So it's been a bit crazy on my side in terms of work, so haven't had a chance to do much um, research in that regard. All right, let's see. All right, so today I don't really have a plan for what we're gonna be doing. I did post it in Instagram yesterday, a question as to what you guys wanna see in this stream, but the range of answers that I got is like very different. So some of you guys wanna see guns or retopology for guns, hard surface, creature, how to create brushes. So a whole bunch of things that some of them I have already covered in certain streams. Happy to do it again as well, but I thought just to combine different things would just create a creature that I can show you, the process of building maybe an asset or a very small library of assets that you can use to sculpt and perhaps do like a quick concept in ZBrush. So I'm aiming to have something blocked in and ready to go by the end of today, or by the end of today's session. So should be good. A robot with new retopology. So the thing is, we recently did like a robot type of mecha character, and the retopology is really boring to watch. So I could definitely show you some techniques, but it's not something that I would aim to do in one of these sessions. I mean, I'll try to make it as informative as I can, but just sitting through 2 hours of retopology is not fun. We want to make this a bit more engaging. So yeah, if you're interested in like a robot type of thing, Comics Legend, you can just watch. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago we did that. I can't remember, but it's definitely there. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start sculpting. If you guys have any questions about what I will be doing or any specific process that I use, feel free to put it in the chat. And I'm just starting with a dynamic sphere. Just check that I'm doing this in the right. Yep. Cloth simulation, says Sanson. Yeah, that's something that we can potentially do. I think with cloth simulation, we can do some sort of. I'm just thinking. I mean, yeah, cloth simulation is fair enough. One of the key things of the new ZBrush 2021, I guess, is that idea. But you can use that cloth simulation in such a variety of things that maybe I'll do the same thing, but instead of being I just realized I'm doing some sort of chicken type of thing. Let's just make it a bit more interesting, like let's make a little dragon thing. Actually, we can do the cloth simulation, or let's not call it cloth simulation. Let's just call it simulation with the wings, or like a little dragon. I don't know if this is is gonna pan out, but we'll see. it's like it's like a T-Rex at the moment. I'm just trying to do a quick block out, nothing too nothing great as of yet, but we'll get to it. Let's see. But aside of that, how do you guys have been finding the new update of ZBrush? Is there a way to make turn global under Sculptris Pro off permanently? Every Sculptris Pro have turn global off for each brush. Don't know. Haven't tried that. I assume that it's a setting that you can just save as part of your UI. So if you save your UI, definitely you could do that. So yeah, if you just turn it off and you save that UI with that off, maybe that would help. I haven't tried that, to be honest, but I'm assuming that it works the same way as other elements. New features are great but overwhelming. What do you find overwhelming about the new features? All right, we have some basic shape of this. I know it looks silly at the moment, but just something to get us started with. We can start adding some markings for whatever we're going to be doing. And I think most of the interesting silhouette of this creature will be given by some VDMs probably. So we'll do that. Let's bring in the Gizmo 3D and flatten the fit. So we can go to flatten. That's just a quick way to make sure it's standing properly. and I'm just gonna adjust some of the volumes with the inflate brush. And this is how I start like this type of sketches, roughly. If I need to, like in terms of workflow, if I need to, you know, detail something more specifically, like an area that needs more work, or it's just gonna make it a lot easier if I work on a separate subtool, I would split this later on. But to start with, this is just a very quick way to get some shapes going. And you'll notice I'm working at a very low resolution Dynamesh, and that's how I like to keep it for as long as I can. Because having it at this resolution allows you to very quickly tweak things and change volumes a lot faster. So definitely something that I prefer to do. All right, I think this should be a good starting point. Let's just bring out the silhouette. That sort of covers the chat, but let's put it there. You can do so much, and yes, well, I think that's the case for anything with ZBrush, right? You can, there's so many things that you can do that could be overwhelming. But what I would say is don't let the amount of tools that you have at your disposal be overwhelming, because if you think about it, they're, you know, sometimes they're just about specific things, as in, you know, like if you were, let's put it this way, if you want to do some sort of it started to look like a weird elephant. So let me just fix this. If you want to do some sort of like 3D printing, right? You probably want to decimate it. So that's, you know, like if you have a high-res mesh and you want to 3D print it, there is a very specific tool for that process, and you decimate that. But there's a few other things that you can do about it, and different ways that you can approach the same thing. So, you know, the new tools and the fact that now we have cloth simulation doesn't mean that it's just for cloth, and that's kind of like one of the main things that I, you know, try to focus on, and that I talked about in the, oh, by the way, I released last week the introduction to ZBrush 2021. So it's a series of videos, and yeah, hopefully you'll find that useful. But yeah, that's one of the main things that I talked about in that series, is like just try to keep an open mind in terms of how to use the new tools. It's not just about cloth or clothing or simulating cloth. It's just simulation, so you can use that in a wide variety of ways. Okay, it's looking like a rat, like a dragon rat. Maybe we can explore that design. So what I'm going to do is maybe add a bit more resolution now that we have a more decent blockout. Not too much. 128 should be good. That's plenty. And I'm gonna work on the on the hands of this guy. And this, by the way, is a process of sketching that I use a lot, but I actually haven't shown it as much in this ZBrush live session. So just using the snake hook brush and just dynameshing, or even using Sculptris Pro. But yeah, I use this quite a bit. All right, now that we have that sort of rough idea of a finger, we can take these. Let's go ahead and duplicate this entire thing. Go into solo mode, and I'm going to use the mask select, the select lasso. And yeah, something like that. I'm going to delete hidden. I'm going to redynamesh this. And that's going to be just one of the fingers. Let's get out of solo mode. Center to the unmask areas. So that's another one. Something like that. And then maybe let's do 3 fingers for this guy. We can make the hand a little bit wider. And using the mask lasso, let's just give it some more curvature here, like a pose. Yeah, something like that. Let's go back to the main one and let's adjust this shape before we combine anything like that. I guess we can do, let's just push the thumb. All right, something like that. And let's go ahead and merge these two together. Let's redynamesh so we can combine this. And we can probably do the same thing for the bottom, although let's just work on this area. All right, I'll have a look at the chat in just a second. All right, so you'll see little by little you start to define this and start to look a bit more interesting than that blob dinosaur chicken type of thing that we had at the beginning. And now that we have more polygons, we can start defining maybe some anatomy for this guy. Just subtle anchor points. All right, it's getting there. Let's go ahead. Looks like some sort of Pokemon type of thing. And I wanna maybe look. Let's just do something like that. I mean, it's meant to be kind of like a dragon, but no, the tablet again. I do not know what's going on with my tablet, but it keeps doing this every single time. I think it's a problem with the compatibility with the OBS, which I'm using at the moment. So and also my keyboard is gone. Not good. All right, I thought I could save this. Let's do a quick save. Yeah, I might just have to work with the keyboard again. Not a big deal. It's just annoying. All right, it's not too bad to start with, and we can definitely make this more interesting. Let's have a look at the chat. Oh, that works great. Cool. So, yeah, it's just a matter of saving the UI. That should work. Just wondering what's the best way to deal with adversity and lack of motivation. Good question. So, to be honest, what motivates me might be different than what motivates you. So it's just a matter of finding that. I usually find that, I try to find inspiration in other artists as well, and just get fueled by whatever they're doing, and sometimes that's just enough to inspire me and go like, okay, what am I doing? I need to start doing some work. But motivation can come from anything really. Same thing as inspiration. Like if you're just listening to music and then you're listening to I don't know, a song that is very suggestive and that you might start thinking about, I don't know, yeah, that just a song that whenever you listen to, you can imagine like a world within it that would be inspiring. So just dealing with that is I think it ultimately is a personal thing. So I could tell you what works for me and what I think it works. At least it's not. I'm not sure if it does, but it's ultimately a matter of just finding what works for you as well. It's like a workflow, really. So I can show you my workflow, and you can have, you know, get some tips, maybe some ideas on how to deal with certain things. Hang on, I think this is okay. But yes, ultimately, what works for you. So yeah, to deal with adversity, unfortunately, there's not like a step-by-step formula for that. Sometimes for me, it's just a matter of like pouring myself into work. When, you know, if I feel like something is causing me distress or something like that, I just do this type of thing. So I don't know if you noticed, but today I haven't actually talked much, because this process of just sculpting and finding shapes and trying to, you know, figure out a volume that I like, it's kind of like therapeutic in that way. So if I feel like, okay, I'm not, you know, I have the blues, whatever, I just do these type of things because not only I enjoy it, and I could potentially make something out of it, right? But it's also a chance to just not think about anything else, just think about volumes, think about silhouette. So it's I don't know if that helps at all, but that's what I do. But yeah, also I watched, you know, other artists' works, and that inspires me. I read books. There's actually a book that let's see, I don't have it with me, or I might. No, it's not here. Anyway, yeah, just reading books, that helps. I'm gonna go ahead and append a sphere. Let's make some eyes for this creature. Let's just make a big eye, just to something that goes with the, yeah, something that goes with the style. Okay. What was the other question? Your explanation of balancing gravity, firmness, and simulation iteration helped me a lot to understand the new dynamics. First, the cloth piece were stretching so badly. Yeah, thanks, man. So yeah, it's just about. Hang on, Jason. Are you Jason from the Extra Mile? Sometimes, because you guys have like different names in here, I can recall. Yeah, so that's how I see it, and sometimes I feel like if I just explain things sometimes in the silly methods that I use to understand myself, the processes, that could actually help. That's me. Ah, cool. How you doing, Jason? Jason is an extra miler. This is kind of like a mix between a rat, a gecko, and some sort of, I don't know, other thing. But I quite like it. We can keep exploring this thing. I prefer something like that. So it's kind of like a, yeah, some sort of rat. So it's a rat. I don't know, you guys probably have a better suggestion for what this looks like. A rat, dragon rat. Alright, I think I'm gonna increase the dynamics resolution just a tiny bit. Not much. Just so we can define this a bit more. And now I think I gave him some sort of snake nose or something. It's a mix and match of different animals, I think. Some visual reference that I have, you know, scattered and lying around in my head. That's what I'm sort of applying to this guy. By the way, guys, so let's see. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm gonna do a private opening for the extra mile course this week. Don't wanna, I don't wanna. I mean, I'll tell you guys just because you are, you're always tuning, so you should know. But I'm not gonna make a big fuss about it again. I will do an official opening for the course sometime this month, at the end of the month, hopefully, depending on how we go. Because it requires a few things for me to handle, and I don't know if I have the time right now. But definitely we'll do a private opening, and a private opening just means that if you're part of my email list, I'll just send you a couple of emails, one to let you know it's open, another one just to remind you. And yeah, if you want to join, it's gonna be the same thing as the last time that we opened the extra mile. So it's gonna be private in that way. I'm not gonna, you know, put it on social media or anything like that. It's just gonna be for the followers, I guess. So if you're interested, or if you're, because I've been getting a few questions about when is the extra mile opening again. So I thought I just let you know that would be happening pretty soon. All right, let's just redefine this area a little bit more. And maybe with standard brush. Just feel like this is a little bit long. Okay, here we get in there. All right, let's do a quick save of this rat thingy. Let's see the chat properly. How do you know what style to go with? Example, how would you design this creature if it lived in the same world of the Siwatuki versus the more stylized version? How would you change your approach? I think in that sense, if I don't do a specific, if I'm not trying to achieve a specific style, I tend to just go with that mix of styles that I feel comfortable with. So something that is not 100% stylized, but it has some stylization, but it has some elements of the realism, and that's just like kind of like what I like doing, trying to take something that is not photorealistic, because to me, although it's very impressive, it's not as rewarding to do for me. I enjoy seeing like hyper realistic and super intricate things that look really cool, but for me, I prefer to do something that doesn't exist, if that makes sense. So just to answer that question, what I would do in that case is, if I want to make this more or less stylized and more realistic, although this one has that mix, I guess, that I'm talking about. It has a bit of that stylization, and it has, like the hands, for example, are pretty stylized, and the face and everything, and the proportions, I guess. So if I want to do something a bit more realistic, something that would live in that world of the Siwatuki guy, it's just a matter of like playing with proportions, refining the the volumes and the transitions between the different volumes, especially proportions, I think. So I would potentially maybe reduce the size of the eyes, make that not as big. So I think, yeah, proportions is one of the main things, especially because if you take, let's say, let's do this very quick. If you take mask the head and then you just do this, right, that immediately makes it more cartoonish, right? And that's just a quick change in proportion. So if I'm doing something more stylized and something more cartoonish like this is what I would do, and then I'll start removing all of those markings that I did that suggest some more realistic anatomy, if that makes sense. So all of these areas like that. And the same thing, if I want to do it even maybe, I don't know, more realistic, I don't know if that would do anything, but it's just a matter of changing proportions first, I think, and then how you approach the refining of the volumes. So if I want to do something more realistic, more stylized, I will just take all of these and make it more subtle, right? Or even use some trim dynamic to make it more, establish some more visible planes and that sort of thing. But this is kind of like an in-between, I guess. Hopefully that answers your question. It's not like a, it's an organic process. So at some point you will go either more realistic or more stylized, but yeah, proportions will help, and definitely using some references, right? So if you wanna do something very realistic, like, I mean, I use tons and tons of reference every time that I start a new project. Actually, I'm starting a new freelance stuff, and yesterday I spent half day just collecting references, because it's a project that will require quite a bit of material that I'm not used to do, so I need a lot of reference, and I collected hundreds of images, and that would allow me to maintain that focus on what I need to do, rather than deviate towards another style or something that is perhaps not what's required by the client, for example. So yeah, references, playing with the proportions, that sort of thing is always good. Let's see. All right. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question, if anything. But I think we have a pretty pretty decent starting point. I mean, we haven't really worked on the feet. Maybe we can do something for it. Let's bring in the move brush with the Aki curve. Also, you'll notice that during this process of blocking out and figuring out the shapes, I'm using very limited set of brushes, and that's something that I also do. You know, in any project really, I just keep it very simple, and it's only until the probably sculpting detail stage or something like that that I start to use the custom brushes that I have, like the scheme brushes and alphas and all of those things. But I thought maybe I could just give you some idea or some references to how to use maybe VDM brushes for sculpting and setting up the block out. So we can do that as well. All right, let's just tweak the hand a bit. And it has kind of like opposable tones, so it's also humanoid. So might not want to do that. All right, I think that is better for this creature. Although, I don't know, maybe something smaller like this would be more interesting. And we can exaggerate maybe one of the fingers. So although I'm still blocking stuff, part of the process is just to design it, right? So this might change quite a bit, especially when we bring in some of the other assets like the VDMs that we're going to be creating. And I'm going to show you how to build that brush, like a quick small library of assets that you can use to sculpt and to either refine or just set up the blocking. Okay. All right, I think that's enough. Otherwise, we'll spend too much time tweaking the volumes. I think it has a bit of the look of a rat with some snake features and some dragon-like proportions as well. I don't know. I like him, so we'll leave it at that. So we can continue working on this guy. Cool. So I'm gonna quick save. Has anyone told me that I look like Hosendiva? No, not at all. What are VDMs? So VDMs are something I'll show you. That's what we're going to be doing right now. So VDMs are vector displacement brushes. And they're just great to they display the geometry. It's kind of like an alpha, but so if you have an alpha, I'll give you a quick explanation. We're gonna do some VDMs in just a second. So if you have an alpha, that is just a an image, a black and white image, and then you have, I don't know, some details like a bump in there, right? An alpha just gives you information in one axis, or just a change of value. So this at 0 would be black, and this point here, let's say at 1, the difference between this and this will be white. So when you click and drag, Siri is going to look at the difference in those points in that grayscale value that you have in the alpha, and it's going to give you that that detail. So in a way, it's very similar. The difference is that with a VDM, you have like the vector displacement. So that means that you can not only do this, but you can do something like that, right? So when you look at this with a VDM, Siri is not only looking at this axis, so black and white 1 0, but also the rest of the axis, right? And then that's why you can have like this space in between this shape and the bottom, because if it's just a black and white image and you look at it from the top, this is a night. So if you look at it from the top, this part will be occluding all of that. So what you end up with, if it is just a normal plain and simple alpha, you end up with something that is like filled like this when you drag and drop and create the effect. So with a VDM is you get that advantage. So, and you're actually displacing the geometry quite nicely. So I'll show you an example of what I mean. Have I saved? Let's just do a quick save again. So if you take the plane, right? So this is just a plane that has some subdivisions. I mean, it is being subdivided, but you can take any plane and just subdivide it. And this one would be just a good starting point to create that VDM. So I'm going to create a few of those. The drawing on the screen is called Epic Pen. So I'm going to duplicate this because I'm going to make a few of these. And let's just create some kind of like scales or horns, or maybe even the like a claw or something for the fingers. So let's start with that. I'm going to turn on symmetry, and I'm going to mask an area. And the idea with the VDMs really is that you need to maintain the borders of that plane untouched, and that's just how it works. So you need to make sure that whatever you do, you don't touch the borders. So I'm gonna do something like this, bring in the move brush. I'm also going to switch to the smooth strong so that I can smooth things a little bit faster. And this is going to be the thing, well, yeah, some kind of claw. But you can use any sculpting brush, right? And let's go ahead and use the clay brush. You can detail this as much as you want. So maybe turn off the symmetry and do some asymmetrical details. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you want to maintain the level of details that you're creating, when you draw this into the new mesh, you need to have enough resolution to be able to describe this, because this is just going to take whatever points you currently have in the base mesh that you're drawing this into, and it's going to displace those points. So if I draw this into the character that we're doing to that creature, you won't be able to see that many details. It's just going to displace the geometry slightly. Alright, so just add a bit of asymmetry, make it more interesting. So that's it. We're going to clear the mask, and that's the first VDM, right? And that's going to be for the finger. So I'm going to take the original plane again, maybe go into solo mode, duplicate it, and let's go ahead and do the same thing. Mask an area like so, invert the mask. Actually, let's create some scale. So something like this. Invert the mask, and let's just refine that. And we can even bring the gizmo, push that out like that, then like this, rotate. And let's use the smooth brush. I remember I'm using the smooth strong because I have quite a bit of geometry. So this is going to be some sort of scale. Alright, I'm going to clear the mask, and it's going to refine that sort of starting point, but I'm going to make sure I mask the borders of this plane so that I don't affect them. So I'm going to smooth this transition here. Alright, so that's, I think that could work. Let's go ahead and clear the mask. I'm going to duplicate the same one, and I'm just going to play around with the size of this a bit more. Let's bring in the gizmo. So this is going to be the same thing, the same idea, but slightly longer. And perhaps we can just move it closer to the plane. So it's going to be closer to maybe to the body of the creature, of the way that we draw it on the mesh. Probably need a bit more thickness. Alright, so that's another VDM ready to go. Let's go ahead and take this, duplicate it again. This one could be maybe an even smaller scale. Again, let's do the mask again with symmetry. Perfect. And I'm going to use the trim dynamic as well to just add some of those planes. Okay, cleared that. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, that one, 4. I'm going to do a couple more. Something that we could use, maybe an even, something really exaggerated. Let's try something like that and push that like so. Some kind of horn or spike or something that we can, use to really push the geometry. You could get a whole tree from a single click and drag. Then yes, absolutely you could. However, you need to maintain the topology of the plane. So if I want to do a tree with a branch in here, although in this case I have plenty of geometry, but I could just do this. But as soon as I start, as soon as I get into this point, I'm already losing geometry. So I can just start pulling like this, and now we're gonna complicate things quite a bit because you cannot redynamesh. So this only works with the subdivision of that plane because that's how the vector displacement works. It's just based on the points that you have in that plane. ZBrush would know, okay, this point in the plane would be at this point, if that makes sense. So if you have a grid like this, right, just a simple one, and then you do something like that, or trying to do something like this with a tree, what you're telling ZBrush with the VDM is like, hey, this point that I had in this plane in this resolution is now going to be here, right? And this one is going to be now here, and this one is going to be here, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like a linear type of thing with all the points, that like a displacement in a way. So this one would be here, depending on how many points you have. So as soon as you start like stretching things like I just did here, then you're gonna need either a lot of geometry, which is pretty heavy on the system, and it will be really hard to achieve something like a full tree. What I would do instead is create a VDM that has a branch like this, maybe something very simple. So that's the VDM, and then I have a single mesh that I can keep dynameshing. So basically, I can draw this. I could show you actually, because it is a cool technique. I'm gonna undo that. Let me just finish this horn or whatever this is, and then I'll show you that technique of creating an entire tree. I'm gonna add some asymmetry to this. And I just want to refine kind of like this transition point with the plane, and that's going to help with the transitions when we once we use it in the actual mesh. All right, let's bring in the trim dynamic just to flatten things up a bit. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 VDMs. Let's just create another one to show you the branch thing. Actually, I can just show you the branch thing with this. Yeah. So let's do one more. Let's just think about what else could we need for this guy. Maybe some scale type of thing for the tail. We might not need it, but let's just make it because it's very easy. Something like that. Invert that mask. Bring in the gizmo. Maybe add a bit of rotation, just make it interesting. All right, I'm gonna make it a bit more thicker, well, just thicker than this. Clear the mask and maybe just smooth all of this for the transition. Okay. So you can create, spend a lot of time doing this. We've been doing these VDMs for like 15 minutes or so. So you can spend an hour just doing this, and then you have a really big library of assets. And once you're happy with these, let's get out of solo mode. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the brush palette here, just so that you see what I'm doing. And let's select the chisel brushes. I mean, you can use any brush, really, any brush that you want to create, any standard brush, that sort of thing, to create the VDMs. But if you use the chisel brushes, they're already set up for VDMs, so it will be exactly what you created for that VDM. So you can use the standard brush, but I prefer to use some of the chisel, like Chisel 3D. So click on that, and that will bring in the chisel brush, but we're going to create a new one. So all we have to do is go to create. I'm going to click on this multi-alpha brush, and that's going to take all of the subtools that I have, and it's going to create an alpha for every subtool. You can actually have like insert brush and stuff like that, just to and it will create alpha that are 3D and 2D. So it's pretty cool. So if you just have a an object there, let's just do one for the sake of demonstration. I'm gonna append something like this, and this could be anything. Could be a Dynamesh object. I'm gonna do some sort of scale like this, maybe use taper. Dynamesh, bring in maybe the bend. Let's use bend arc. So some sort of additional scale. You're gonna hold control. Oops. Rotate this. Control. Move that like that. I don't really know what I'm doing, but like what this could be, but hopefully you'll get the idea. The point is that you can have a mesh like this. Let's increase the Dynamesh resolution and redynamesh all of that. So it's just a mesh like this, and it's just oriented in that sort of same way as the other pieces. So ZBrush can grab this as a normal alpha. Let's do a clay polish. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to VDMs. Let's select the chisel brush and let's go to create. I'm gonna click on multi-alpha, click on that, and it's pretty heavy, so there we go. So now we have all of these meshes, including this one. So if let's bring in the alpha palette. So you see that all of these VDM brushes that I created have this 3D icon here, right? But if I select the one at the bottom, it's just like a normal alpha. So you have a mix and mixture of those. So we can now go to. Oh, I did say I was gonna show you the tree thing. Let's make this into a Dynamesh object. Okay, so I can take this alpha, click and drag, and that's just gonna give you normal alpha, right? Which you can change the intensity and all of that. But then you have these VDMs. You see that you really need some more geometry. So this one that is very thin is just displacing those polygons, right? So you need more resolution in the base mesh. So let's just increase that a little bit. But basically what I was saying about the tree is that you can take something like this, click and drag, and that's going to be maybe the trunk, and then you redynamesh this, and then you have more, obviously. So every time that I draw a new one of these, I redynamesh, and you can mask areas that you don't want to affect. Click and drag to redynamesh. So obviously you can have more control and place it a little bit better than what I'm doing, but that's generally the process that I would follow if I want to create a tree like that, which I haven't done really. I think there are easier methods and better methods to do a tree specifically, but yeah, you could do that. So this is a Dynamesh object. All right, so let's actually go back, and I'm just gonna redynamesh and use these like that, clear, and then use a couple more just to create a quick icon. Right, and then we can go to the brush palette. We can hold the Alt key. It's not the brush palette. Where's my brush palette? Here. Hold the Alt key and click on select icon, and now we have an icon for this, and we can just save that. And I'm gonna save it somewhere in the desktop. All right. So now we have that asset that we can use in our creature, but our creature is very low res, so it's gonna distort things quite a bit. So if I use the horns, for example, which you can use with symmetry as well, right? I have these horns, but I'm distorting those polygons quite a bit. But I can do this type of thing very quickly and just get an idea of whether or not this is going to work the way that I'm hoping. And it's just distorting things maybe too much. Okay, let's do the one that I actually wanted to do, which is this one. But it's pretty low, so it's probably not gonna give me what I want. We need definitely more resolution to use these VDMs. Yeah, let's try it here. Maybe here it was gonna work a bit better. Just gonna mask out an area that I don't want to affect. Right, so now we have those claws, and we can clear the mask, reDynamesh to integrate those. And let's go ahead and bring in, oh no, my tablet is, I have lost my keyboard as well. That's not good. Okay, I'm gonna reset my tablet just a second. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. Maybe this is a good opportunity to address any questions that you guys have. All right, restart. Yeah, so with the VDMs, you definitely need more resolution. And at this point, I'm not sure if I want to add more resolution to this guy as of yet, because I'm still exploring kind of like the base mesh and the shapes. So maybe instead of using VDMs, maybe we can just increase the resolution, see what happens. But instead of using VDMs, if you want to maintain the low res mesh that you want to keep, you can use insert meshes as well. Did you make an insert brush, or it's something else? This is a VDM brush. So insert meshes will actually insert an entire mesh. It's not going to displace the geometry. So that's probably one of the things that I'm going to be doing, actually, just to get these type of things. But in an insert mesh might be a little bit easy for what I want to achieve. We'll see. We'll see how we go. So with VDMs, there will never be a separate tools. No, it's just this is literally displacing whatever you have. You can make it a separate tool. You could, yeah, you can just drag and you can use let me just think what would be the easiest way. You can do a difference morph. That's probably something easy to do, but it's just an extra process. So, oops. So if you go to this, let's make it let's go back in time. So if you want to make these VDMs a separate subtool, I'm having a lot of issues with this, with the pen now. This is not good. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart something. Let's see. No, the pen is not working. Nope. Let me just show you the VDM thing, and then I'll do a quick restart. So yeah, so you can take something like this, and I'm gonna actually change interface IMM viewer. I'm gonna put this on the other side, or just at the top. Just put it at the top. All right, so if you go ahead and you save a storm, or you store a morph target, ZBrush will remember this current state of this sphere, or in whatever case whatever you're doing, it will remember that state of that mesh, and then you can just click and drag this thing, right? But it's just a displacement of that mesh that you have. So it is attached to it. It's just moving. It's literally just taking the move brush. You can achieve the same thing with the move brush, right? But it's just a VDM, allows you to do it, faster and with a lot more resolution. So you can have that like this, but because we stored a morph target, ZBrush knows now what's the difference between the sphere without the VDM and the new VDM. So you can take this create difference mesh. So in the morph, these are tools that are within actually morph target. So you store a morph target, and then you can click on create different mesh or difference mesh, and that should create a mesh that it's it's just a Dynamesh as well, of just the difference between the sphere and what you dragged in. So you can just copy this and just paste it, and it will be right in the same spot, right? So you could do that, let's say multiple times. Let's delete that, store morph target. So you could do this, right? And then create difference, copy that, maybe just undo all of that, paste. So you have that effect of the VDM, but in a separate subtool. You know, that it has independent topology, or independent, well, yeah, topology and resolution. So hopefully that helps. Yes, so I'm gonna thing is, I think I lost the right click. That's really weird. Anyway, give me 2 seconds, I'll be back. All right, cool. So I just restarted ZBrush and the Wacom tablet. And now we are back in business. So let's take these. We said that we're gonna do some insert brushes, but I think we can just work with this. Let's see. I'm gonna duplicate just to keep the original. I'm gonna increase the resolution quite a bit for this guy. Did it do anything? No. Click and drag. All right, now we're working. And let's select the chisel brush or this 3D thing, and I'm going to start working with these pieces here. Not this one, this one. Just trying to figure out what could work for this guy. Maybe this is too. That's not too bad. Let's go ahead and smooth this out. Click and drag to redynamesh. I mean, you could have achieved the same thing just by using the move brush, but I just wanted to show you that you could do these type of things very easily. So I think it's the scales, the one that I want to do. The only thing that I'm just thinking is maybe the angle is not great, the angle of the VDM that we created. It's alright. Not entirely happy with this, to be honest. Just gonna do a quick pass. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna, yeah, don't like. Alright, gonna duplicate that again. And I'm just gonna use the insert brushes. I think that's gonna be better for this. So let's select the cylinder. Yeah, cylinder should be fine. Make it a polymesh 3D, and let's just quickly generate some kind of horns or a scale for this. Taper deformer. Flatten those. Let's use the bend arc as well. I'm gonna dynamesh this, and oops, I'll rotate that 90 degrees so that we can work with symmetry. Smooth all of that, and we can use the AccuCurve, sorry, the move brush with AccuCurve. That's going to be one of my scales. I'm going to duplicate that, go into solo mode, then I'm going to make a smaller scale. And we can also detail this. It doesn't have to be just this. We can just add some details. And this is going to be an insert mesh, so we can skip that step that I show you with the create difference mesh using the morph target, because this is going to be, as soon as we insert it, we can have we have the ability to basically split whatever is masked, and by default when you insert a new mesh, ZBrush is gonna mask the rest. So we have these two. Maybe let's duplicate that and create another one that is slightly longer, kind of like a spike. And we can use the trim dynamic. So in this instance, the VDMs, I mean, they work, but in this instance, something like this, it's probably better for what we want to achieve. And finally, maybe we can take this and duplicate it one more time. Just to make something slightly different, so we can variate whatever we're doing. All right, now the trick is how we're going to insert those brushes. So I'm going to go into solo mode, and I'm going to start, actually, yeah, let's start rotating this. I want to create a plane. I'll show you why. Okay, so This plane is just going to be a quick reference of how I want to actually insert these insert brushes. So with that plane, it's kind of like my surface for whatever I'm going to use. So I'm going to rotate this, and that insertion will be based on the camera. And then I can go ahead and have an idea, a better idea of how this is going to interact with the current mesh. So I'm just going to push this in. Obviously the base mesh is going to have a different curvature than a plane, but I have this as a reference point to insert these things. Right, then I'm going to take the second one, same deal. Then the third one. So for this one, I'm gonna do this one like that, and I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm gonna make another one that is, you know, looking straight to the camera in a way. And that one as well. So I'm just repeating the process. And this is not something that I do all the time, but it's just a quick and easy way to make sure that whatever you create in terms of insert meshes is going to work. All right, so now from this camera, I'm gonna delete the plane. We don't need that anymore. It was just a quick reference. I'm gonna go ahead and optimize this because it has a lot of geometry. So let's go to the Z plugin. I'm gonna decimate. I'm gonna decimate current. Go into solo mode. Go back to this Z plugin, and I'm gonna decimate this quite a bit. So let's go for 8%. That should be enough. Well, let's do the same thing for everything else. And the 8% should be, it's a good percentage for all of these pieces. All right. So now we just have a bunch of pieces that have been optimized, and again, these are just decimated, so we can just turn them into a Dynamesh and keep sculpting on top of them when we add them. I'm gonna go to the brush palette, and I'm going to click on create, and I'm going to click on create multi or insert multi mesh, and that's going to take the same, basically the same process as we did before with the multi alpha, but it's going to be based on the subtools. It's going to keep those meshes. So let's click on insert multi mesh. So you see we have something very similar to the VDM, but the VDM is going to display the geometry, whereas this one is actually inserting a new piece every time that we click. So now I can just do this, right? And one of the great things about this tool, the insert meshes, is that you can control the depth at which you insert the mesh based on, you know, individual pieces. So let me just show you what I mean. So just come here, and I just click and drag to add this. You see it is quite far from the mesh itself. So you can just undo that and push this down. Maybe even more. Like that. So that, I think that's going to work a little bit better. But then if I change to another mesh or to another of these insert meshes, you see these resets. So this depth is based on the mesh itself. So on the insert mesh. So you can change the depth of all of those things. Brilliant. So this one is the one that is from the camera. And this one is the one that should come out like this. Okay, and then finally this one. I'm just adjusting that brush. So now we can use this to start building what we were trying to do before. So and what's great about this is because as soon as you insert the mesh, ZBrush is going to mask everything automatically, so we can bring back the gizmo, or bring the gizmo, and then just reposition this so that it goes more with the design. We can even just hold Control and click and drag if you want to maintain that sort of angle. Scale it a bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing, but right from the center. So it's going to create a single one. All right, I think I lost the driver for the tablet again. I have a feeling that it might be the Epic Pen, so I'm just going to close that. Might give me some issues with that. How are we doing with time? Okay, we still have time to add more of these things. All right, but we already have the tools in a way. We have the assets. It's now just a matter of spending the time and refining the placement and making sure that whatever we do, it doesn't. I mean, it's definitely going to alter the silhouette, and that's why I didn't spend or I didn't tweak that many things in terms of the volumes on and left the base mesh at this stage, because you know, once you start applying this type of meshes, it's gonna definitely change the volumes and the silhouette. And I just think it's great that you have the ability to mask automatically, or that ZBrush does it automatically for you, because now you know, you can tweak things like the placement, the rotation, and that's just going to create a lot of even the scale, obviously, that creates a lot of variety with just a few meshes that you use in your brush. And yep, we'll have time, so I'm going to show you a couple more tricks that, you know, have to do with this process that are really cool. Hold Control, click and drag, maybe change the scale. The rotation. Now I feel like it has some sort of what's the name of that really cool animal? The pangolian. So yeah, I think I forgot the name, but it's it has this sort of scales. Pangolian. It's kind of like an armadillo type of thing, but it's really cool. Maybe I should get some references for this. The pangolin, that's right. Thanks, Duke Pablo. All right, I'm gonna add a few more here. And to make this work, it just requires time. I'm not gonna obviously do the entire body of these scales. Just want to have a few. Let's use the other one, the smaller one. And I'm gonna be a little bit more loose in the way that I apply these things, and I'll show you a trick. And I'm keeping an eye out here on the currently the count of polygons of this mesh. I'm currently having, it's you have plenty of space plenty of room to keep adding, but then we're gonna split this into its own subtool, so it's easier to manipulate. All right. Maybe you can add something as well here. And I know there's quite a few bits intersecting with each other, but I will show you a trick in just a second to deal with that. Still requires some manual tweaking, of course, but the best things come from that manual tweaking anyway. Let's just use this all the way. And you can also convert this into a curve brush, and this probably would have been easier to apply it in this area. But I think it works. I think we need something here in the front as well. Just some more of a scattered scales. And these end up being quite a useful piece, the tiny one that I did at the end. I think I'm getting carried away with this. All right, I think that's good for now. Yeah, so let's go ahead and clear that mask now. So this is looking all right. If you have a lot more resolution, you could do the same thing with the VDMs anyway. Hey Santiago, thank you. Glad you like it. It is a good idea to UV map that pieces before you place them, so that you won't have to do it any later. Yeah, probably. If you want to keep them as separate meshes like that, yes. Otherwise, you can, because they're the same. You can use tools. For example, I use Rhizome UV, right, for UVs, for very clean specific UVs. And if it is the same geometry, you can use a tool in Rhizome UV that allows you to select the seams of that specific of one piece, and it's going to find the meshes that have the same topology and apply the same process. And so you can, it's relatively easy. It's just another process, but in this case, I'm not interested in doing that because it's just a concept. Just realize that maybe I need to do some more here. All right, so let's clear that. And I thought I was gonna give this guy some wings. Nah, I think it would work. It would work better without wings. Let's just keep it like this. All right, so now we have obviously polygroups because we inserted those meshes. Let's go to move topological. I want to hold Control and Shift and isolate the base mesh. I'm gonna split hidden. So now these are a separate mesh. And because I have the move topological, we can also bring in the Aki curve. We still have symmetry, and this is what I mentioned about the trick for adjusting some of these intersections. So these type of things. Because we have the move topological, ZBrush or this brush respects the topology or the continuity of the topology, and all of these pieces are separate. So I can manually tweak them very easily with a large brush size and just give them some better distribution. So that's why with this tiny piece I was a little bit more loose in the application of it. And of course you can still stretch them and pull them about and that sort of thing. But again, this is another process that would take time. It's manual, but it's definitely worth it. I mean, the result of this manual placement and this of what I'm doing right now, it would really make a big difference. And it's not just to place things. You can modify things very quickly, like maybe just add a bit more curvature to these ones, and that will sort of break apart that sort of repetition or symmetry that we have from the pattern, because obviously they're the same tool, but just with a little bit of pulling and stretching them, that could really help. And also at this point, I'm sort of thinking about the transition of those the size maybe. So it's like, you know, these ones were they were like the same compared to these big ones. So you can just take one of them and then make it a bit bigger, and it just helps to gradually move from a big shape to a smaller one. So that's what I'm trying to achieve in this stage. But once you get used to the tools, it's more of the same. There's nothing too complicated really about this process. It's just knowing what's better, and also I guess knowing what the end result is, right? Because yeah, if I was to, let's say, take this and dynamesh it, this piece, then I will lose a lot of that nice sort of connections that I'm creating at the point, because everything is gonna merge with each other. But if I were to do this for, I don't know, let's say like a game, right? Or I just need to make it a low res, but I still need to have all of these polygons, or not polygons, all these details. I'll just keep this high resolution mesh and then do a retopology and then project these details. Alright, I'm not gonna go through the entire thing because again, this is a very manual and tedious process to, well, not tedious, I don't mind it, I kind of like it, but it's boring to watch. So I'll just do a few more here. Maybe these ones that are pretty scattered, I'm gonna bring them back in. But then you can just go ahead and do, you can continue the sculpting, right? The base mesh, and just integrate them a little bit better. Okay, we're getting there. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. How the others don't move, like, because I'm using the move topological. That's what I mentioned about this tool. The move topological is just going to respect the continuity of the topology. So because these pieces are essentially separate meshes, I can hold Control and Shift, select one, and it's going to isolate that. The move topological is going to analyze the topology of the first point, the continuity of the first point that you clicked on, and because there is no continuity, in other words, these pieces are not connected to each other, they're in the same subtool but they're not connected, then ZBrush is going to only move one, right? If you use a very large brush, you still can move the entire thing, but in some cases when there are not separate meshes, you can also use this tool, right? And then in some cases you can just move the entire thing with the same brush. But basically what this brush does is just look at the continuity of the point that you click on. So because they're separate meshes, it just, it allows me to move one at a time. And then if I want to move more than one at a time to adjust the overall placement of an area, then I use the move brush. But at this point, I just wanna make sure that all of these pieces are sort of interconnecting nicely to create that effect of the pangolin that we have added to this creature. So now it's a mix of more creatures and more animals. How are we doing with time? Ooh, we have about 5 minutes. I wanted to do something else. Okay, let's leave it there. And let's do a quick save. What's the difference of the topology brush? Okay, that's what I was talking about. How do you make these scales? You copy every one of them? No, I just use the insert. Maybe just scroll back in time or rewatch this part, because I went through the process of I show you two processes, the VDM, which didn't really work for this specific case because of the low res that I have in the mesh, and I want to keep it that way. But then these ones I use the insert brushes, and I create an insert brush for that. So yeah, that's how I put this in manually. All right, so just to wrap up today's session, what I'll do is go to the base mesh again, and I'm going to use the clay brush, and I'm just going to start adding some refinements, just kind of like a border. And this is just to integrate these pieces a little bit more, so they don't look like they're just floating there. They need to have a functional reason to be there, just to protect the backside of this creature. But we can use something like maybe the standard brush, and then just add a bit of volume to these areas where the scales are kind of like growing from. Right? And because they're meant to be kind of like hard shells, or just hard pieces, they might create some tension points in some areas and create some wrinkles. So those are the type of things that I would do after. But just to wrap up again, I'm going to add a few, just a quick PolyPaint pass, just so we know roughly what this is going to look like, just to do a concept. Let's click on RGB symmetry. I'm gonna select, let's go for a red color, and the same thing with this, slightly more orangey. All right, and then we can take, like lighter colors of red, or a darker color. Let's do a quick pass. Actually, let's make the body lighter and the scales darker. So I'm just switching. Yeah, I think that works a little bit better. Now it reminds me a bit of that. What's the name of that Pokemon that that had fire thing? I was never into Pokemon, so I don't really know. But started with Chi something. Don't remember. Anyway. Sign the Kill? Nah, it was like one of the popular ones that had like fire. Yeah, Charizard or something like that. Yeah, had fire on the tail, I think. I'm just gonna paint a fake subsurface scattering here, type of thing. All right. This is just a quick PolyPaint pass, but it would help to sort of like sell the idea of this concept, just so that we have a name maybe for the next time to see what areas need to be refined. I'm just going to use color to integrate the pieces a bit more, so that is kind of like a more of a faded or gradient between the scales and the body. And that's just with texture and color, so it doesn't have to be. Yeah, just something like that. And maybe let's take this, the eyes. Oh, we haven't touched the eyes at all. Give it a black color. It could be reflective. And probably let's bring in the damps on the brush. Select the body. We can increase the dynamics resolution. Oops. Just quickly refine this, the jaw and the lips. And we can go back to we were using the standard brush with a darker color. Just paint some dark areas here to accentuate that. It's kind of like a fake ambient occlusion, very quick one. All right, so I think I'm gonna leave it here, guys, because my time is up, but hopefully you can pick up some ideas from this creature here and the process. So we can continue working on this guy the next live stream. I think we can add, do more proper PolyPaint and continue working on that. Maybe add some, maybe let's take this thing. Let's go to the masking and let's do a quick mask by cavity, probably. Nope, the smoothness. Let's see which one works. No, let's just leave it like that. I think it's working fine. Okay, cool. So let's enable perspective. Do a quick save. And let's turn on the floor. Let's do a quick render of this guy. Set on BPR shadows. Let's set out an angle 40 or 35. A few more rays, and let's just click close up and click render. All right, last minute questions. Let's see. Is it possible to click and mask an object? Yeah, you can bring in the Gizmo 3D and just click and drag, holding control, sorry. So if you select the Gizmo 3D and hold control and click, that would mask that object. Alexander, thank you so much, man. Glad that you like it. The rat looks cute. Yep. The first evolution with no wings. Yeah, I think that maybe we'll just keep it without wings, because that's, yeah, that's gonna make it look less than Charmeleon. What is it? Charmander. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, definitely. Adding a little bit of PolyPaint when you're designing is always good. I like to at this point, when I have it like this, and you know that it's not it's not a clean topology, it's still Dynamesh and everything, but even at this stage, just adding a little bit of PolyPaint, it helps to integrate everything, and it just creates a more solid piece, a more solid concept, and it can change completely afterwards, but it just takes it to the next level if you add a little bit of PolyPaint, just so that you can yourself, not for anyone else, but so you yourself can visualize how everything is working together. I think it's really cool. when you polypaint, do you account for shadows, or does the render create the magic there? Yeah, no, the shadows are just from the render. I just added like I said, like a fake, like an ambient occlusion type of thing to integrate this a little bit better, because I haven't actually done any sculpting details or any sculpted areas or folds that would create that mask. So hopefully that helps, guys. I'm gonna leave it here, and I will see you next week. Again, if you are part of the email list, you'll get an email with the invitation for the Extra Mile private opening. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna make it a, I'm not gonna make a fuss about it. As in, I'm not gonna paste it anywhere, you know, any social media or anything like that. It's just gonna be on the email list. So if you're in the email list, you'll get a notification. If you're not, you can subscribe in the ZBrush Guides website or the 3D Concept Artist website, and I'll let you know. The artwork that the students, the Extra Milers, are creating is pretty fantastic. In fact, let me just bring something, because I think it's really cool. Two things. So just before I go, because one of the students got featured, one of these Extra Mile students got featured in the Rookies, which is amazing, and he won one of the internal challenges. So in the Extra Mile, we do some student challenges every now and again to just sort of like keep pushing the students to do new stuff. But if you go to the Rookies, this one right here, so this is Daniel Colombo. So Daniele did a fantastic job, and this is the result of a really tight deadline that I gave these students for only 30 days. So in 30 days, they had to come up with an original concept. So I just thought I should share this, because it's all, you know, using ZBrush and all the tools that I shared in the course. So from the very beginning, concepting and all of that. So you can read through the entire thing and how he did it. And so this is the final result. So this is done for the Extra Mile. So the Extra Mile, if I click on here, so the Extra Mile is for those of you who don't know, is the course that I have online, where I teach, you know, the entire process from ZBrush sculpture, what we did today, all the way to a polished illustration using, you know, Substance Painter and all of that. So right now is, as you can see, is currently closed, but if you go down to the bottom, you can subscribe and I will let you know when it's ready. So that's what I mean. If you're not part of the list and if you're interested, you can do it from here, because the things that the students are doing are just phenomenal. So that's a really cool thing. Have a look at this. It's a pretty interesting article about his thought process, and he did a really, really good job. And one more final thing, I don't know if you guys know about Character Creator. It's a tool that I sometimes use to, you know, generate base meshes for humanoid characters and creatures. They just released, and I think in partnership with ArtStation, I haven't checked it in ArtStation, but they just released this. It's a pretty cool challenge. It's nothing to do with my course or anything. I just thought I should. I just got an email, so I just wanted to let you know in case you didn't know about it. It's a contest from Reallusion to create a realistic character, stylized or an animated character, and the prices are pretty cool. So look at this, get $2,000, $2,000 for the best price. So first prize. Anyway, have a look at this. I just saw it and I thought I'll let you know. I think it's partnership with ArtStation, so you can probably get it from the ArtStation website as well. Anyway, cool stuff to keep you motivated during these times. All right, see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.